Monday night Krug show. Dieter's in the house. Niners made a signing today of note. What's the plan for the draft? What do we think of the free agent period so far? How's the roster looking as we sit here in the middle of March?
Gears are turning, Larry. Gears are turning.
A lot to get to. Let's go. Off and running Monday night on the Krug show. The band is fired up. Everybody's fired up. The NCAA tournament. My bracket is done. I got Purdue winning it all.
Who do you have Purdue beaten in the second round there, Lair?
In the second round?
Uh-huh. Say it
Gonzaga.
to my face.
Gonzaga, maybe.
No, that would be the third round.
That'd be the third round?
Who do you have Purdue beaten in the second round?
Probably Mizzou.
Who do you have? Who do you have? There's no right answer here, Larry.
Really? Do they get Missouri in the second round?
Either you have Miami, which means that my Missouri Tigers lost in the first round, which, by the way, wouldn't be a shock. They've won one tournament game since I've graduated college. And or you're having Matt Painter, who last second turned down Mizzou to come into St. Louis and beat the Missouri Tigers in St. Louis. You think that's going to happen, Larry? You think that's going to happen?
Yeah, I have. Where do I have? Where is it? Where's Missouri?
You've abstained. They're right above Purdue.
Yeah, I have Miami.
Oh, my God.
I have Miami in the second round against Purdue, and I have Purdue beating them. I have Purdue beating Gonzaga. I have Purdue beating Arizona. I have Purdue beating Virginia in the national semi, and I have Purdue beating Houston.
Disgusting.
And, I don't know. My final four is Purdue, Virginia, Houston, and Duke.
Yeah. I raw dog the tournament now. I don't do a bracket anymore.
Really?
I used to be super into it. Used to be a big college basketball guy. Was very, very good at it. I was the guy taking the $20 that you gave to Gene in accounting. And I got so mad when UMBC beat Virginia as a 16 seed. Because I had Virginia, and I'd spent all this time, and I'm like, oh, Virginia's going to win. This is their year. And then they lose as a 16 seed, and I was so pissed. But the rest of the tournament was, I had nothing to root for bracket-wise. And I realized, oh, this is way more fun when I can just root for whomever I want without any sort of hang-ups. I was rooting against history.
Vegas. You got to go to Vegas.
Well, I definitely don't do college basketball like that anymore.
Oh, my God.
I don't think I've ever placed a college basketball bet.
Really? Oh,
I've played some college games, but never college basketball.
Dude, I'll tell you, one of my worst beats of all time was Maryland against Duke in the national semi. Maryland was getting 6. They were up 23.
Oh,
I was up 29. And Shane Battier started taking charges.
Yeah.
And not only did the Terps not win, they didn't cover. I was up 29.
Here's how I know I'm good being I still will enjoy the college basketball, but I just don't want anything tying me to some fanciful notion that I know something anymore. I want to be able to experience it firsthand and be like, ooh, I like the cut of this team's jib, and I'm going to watch them move on. And I was watching 5 minutes of the American Conference championship game the other day, and I'm like, ooh, South Florida, they look good. I'm going to go with South Florida. And now I don't have to worry about, I need South Florida to lose 3 games in as opposed to in the first round. Just let it happen. I'm getting 4 screens on the YouTube TV. I'm just going to enjoy it. And I don't need to root against history. If there's a 13 seed beating a 4 or whatever, I can just lean into it. I can be the number 1 Cal Baptist fan for a night. That's what I'm about, because I've been seeing these videos of the Final Four player introductions from the early 2000s, and I'm like, oh, I remember all of these guys. This was prime, 14-year-old Dieter college basketball stuff. All these guys, it meant something back then when you were announcing Battier and Mike Dunleavy and going down the roster, all that. And now it's just 42 transfers per team. It has no connective
lost
tissue.
Its value. It's lost its
It's professional. It's like the most professional sport, the most mercenary thing of all time. But they have a pep band, so therefore it's collegiate still. And you had 40-year-old grown men who got kicked out of the NBA playing college basketball. It's just a mess. So I'm going in. I'm raw dogging it. I've been raw dogging it for a while. It's one of the best decisions I ever made. Now we at least have a term for it.
I use that term as well, just not for that.
Well, that's why we have 6 children between us there.
I've used that raw dog term, just not quite in the same.
Are you familiar with the concept of raw dogging a flight? Have
No.
you ever heard that?
No.
Oh, so this is a weird like manosphere thing where guys, as some sort of like test of their character and attention, will go on airplanes without headphones or books or a tablet or anything. And they'll just sit there for like 6 hours. They call it raw dog in a flight. And
well, I've done that before, of course. I
mean, accidentally.
Well, just being a kid and just maybe not there's been or like a couple times I got on a flight and I realized my I didn't have my charger and my things like my battery's way low.
Yeah.
I mean, the one time I got on a flight to Philly for the Niners, and I thought I had downloaded a bunch of things on my iPad, and the only thing I had downloaded on my iPad was like who's to blame for the demise of the Montreal Expos.
Oh, geez.
And I'm like, literally, I'm in Iowa. I'm like, Claude Brofu or whatever. I'm just like,
you have a very strong opinion about David Sampson now.
Yeah, exactly. David Sampson.
Jeffrey Loria did what? That fucking art
Loria
collector
pulled one over on these Canadians.
Yeah.
Damn it.
What do you mean they can't fix the Olympic Dome? It's I just try to read on planes now, but and I have a very small e-reader that I never go without. But as someone who just did 2-hour flights with a 1-year-old who, when you try to drug her to sleep, only gets meaner and stronger, let me tell you, all I would give is to raw dog a flight, because
I'll tell you, for me, it's all about time, because I can sleep at all times. And so what
in all situations,
I can sleep. I mean, like if all of a sudden I had to sleep like on this floor right now, I could. Yeah. If you put me, like my roommate used to get mad in college because he could never sleep. Right. Like if there was anything on, anything at all, any light, any whatever, any noise, I can't sleep. Yeah. He could have like 4 people over. They could be listening to music. They could be pounding beers.
They're doing a little conga line.
I seriously, style. I can just sleep right through it. I mean, I just, and I can sleep on a hardwood floor. I can sleep anyway. Just lay me down and I will be sleeping.
You want to come talk to my 1-year-old?
So, I mean, it's one of those things where, that's
impressive.
For me, the best way to do it is fly early in the morning.
Yeah.
Because I always stay up late. So my normal thing is to stay up till like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. Mm-hmm. And then, so a lot of times, like when we flew to Arizona for spring training, I'm like, let's get a 5 a.m. flight.
Were you on the 5 a.m. out of Oakland?
Yeah, we were.
I'm on that on Friday.
to Arizona?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, and it's great because you pull up in Arizona, like 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the morning. That's the right time to be in Arizona.
Right.
Everybody, it feels great. You go to the rental car. It's all outside. It's perfect.
Awesome. That's good to know, because I'm legitimately worried about how I'm going to sleep.
First of all, it's a short flight. It's like an hour,
like 90
and 20.
Minutes or so.
Yeah, it's so quick.
I got to get a little pillow. Southwest just started doing, assigned seats, so I had to figure that all out. I mean, I'm 6'9", 300, so like me being on a commercial aircraft in and of itself, always a bit of a juggling act.
I was going to say, dude, I mean, I'm 6'2", 235, and I do not. I mean, I like to at least stand up at least once on the flight, stretch my legs. You're a gigantic guy.
Yeah.
You've got to either sit in that.
I sit in that jumper
lane.
seat.
you got to sit in that lane like that with the exit lane.
The exit row. Yeah. I always give the verbal
front.
Yes.
The front. I sat in the second row on the way back.
Yeah.
From Arizona. That wasn't bad. Yeah. All right. People don't want to care about our flight itinerary. They care about the Niners, damn it.
Oh, okay.
And of course, the Krug Show brought to you by Pig and a Pickle. The best barbecue in all of Northern California is Pig and a Pickle. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week. Soon to open in Petaluma as well. So check them out. Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Also, thanks to Habbas Law. Habbas Law is doing something very cool. They're covering pet adoption fees at San Jose Animal Care Center on Saturday, March the 28th. They're covering all the adoption fees. Every dog, every cat, every bunny, every hamster, every whatever. Every chance at a brand new life right now. Incredible animals are sitting there in the kennel.
Absolutely.
Some for weeks, some for months, some for longer, hoping that the next person that walks up is going to adopt them. So March 25th, Habbas Law, great attorneys, 1-800-INJURED, HabbasLaw.com on the web. They're going to pay for it. So come meet your new best friend. Walk in. All you got to have is a generous heart. You leave with a family. It's the San Jose Animal Care Center, courtesy of the good people at Habbas Law. And you say, when is that? That's going to be 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And once again, Saturday, March the 28th, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., 2750 Monterey Road in San Jose. Habbas Law, rough on injustice with a heart for paws.
There we go.
Do you like that? But
that was incredible.
Thank you, Habbas Law, for doing that. Proud to be associated with them. Proud to be associated, with a great company that cares a lot about their community, and Habbas Law does. So very, very cool. Also, since we're doing it, we'll get it out of the way right now. Thanks to Alomar Marina. Awesome spot in Sacramento to go have lunch, 5999 Garden Highway. Float while you eat.
Hey, now.
And let's not forget Novato Chevrolet. The only place I will buy a Chevrolet is Novato Chevrolet. Go see David Corral. He's the man to go see. They've got an awesome selection, family-run business, really good people. Met the owner myself, Gus. Dealership's been there for decades. Novato Chevrolet. Thanks to Novato Chevrolet. We'll get a mention in before we get out of here for all of our sponsors. The link's in the description for all of our sponsors. All right, let's get right into it. We are a couple weeks into free agency. The draft is soon approaching. Dieter and Jake Hutchinson, our good friend, are working and have done a draft guide in the past, and you're doing another version of it this year. And before we get rolling, why don't you tell people, if they're in our network, if they're one of the nearly 1,000 people that are hanging out in the room as we just get it rolling here on a Monday night, where, if they want your draft guide, and they should, because these guys know their shit and they've spent a lot of time on it. How is the best way to connect with you and get the draft guide?
It's pretty straightforward. You head over to our YouTube channel, the Dieter and Hutch Pod. And if you become a sicko, an official sicko, a member of the channel, we're going to hit you up with it. And it's going to be an exclusive members-only club for you and all the cool people to have the draft guide in hand, and all of our opinions on every prospect, and frankly, too many prospects, going to be available to you at the click of a mouse, available anywhere you go, because that's where your phone goes. We're pretty excited about it this year. Last year we did it as a PDF. It looked awesome, and now we, with the power of technology, can bring it into the full digital realm, so you don't have to be carrying around a big old binder, which is probably the best way to have read it last year. So,
and it's not done yet, right? You're still working on it.
Dear God, I wish it was done, but no, it is not done yet. It will be done. It has to be done in the next 2.5 weeks. So
yes, it does.
We don't really have much of a choice in that matter, and one of us might die in the process. So it will be the Dieter and possibly Jake Memorial draft guide. But in the meantime, we're having a lot of fun getting into a lot of the nitty gritty. And I think that the biggest thing is, listen, we're not going to do hot takes. We're going to tell you, the best players that everyone has are the best players. 90% of them we agree with. They're the best players for a reason. But I think that we do as good of a job as anybody. And I have been told by people outside of the building with the 49ers and with other teams that we do a great job of identifying diamonds in the rough and really identifying great scheme fits, not just for the 49ers, which obviously we have a bit of an expertise on. We'd like to think so, but also for other teams and other schemes. And that has proven very valuable, if you will, to some teams around the NFL. And if you know, you know. So, yeah, it is the guide that no one will admit they're reading, but you can admit fully and tell all your friends about it.
I'll read it. It's, it's always, to me, knowledge is power. And, this is how you learn about the prospects. You read people's accounts and opinions on them. Yeah. All right, let's get into the Niner depth chart. And we'll just start at the quarterback position. Right now, as it sits, here we are, middle of March. Niners have Brock Purdy at the top of the depth chart, followed by Mac Jones, Curtis Rourke, Adrian Martinez. Full credit to Dieter, who, when others like myself were saying, Mac Jones has got to be traded. He is far and away the second best quarterback available this offseason. The NFL said, no. We will not be trading for Mac Jones. He still remains with the Niners, and Dieter predicted this. So what do you think, Dieter? I mean, the Steelers are still out there. The Aaron Rodgers future is unknown. The Cardinals are still out there. They let Kyler go to Minnesota. They're talking about Gardner Minshew and Jimmy Garoppolo and maybe Jacoby Brissett or something like that. So those are the last teams that really would have interest in Mac Jones, you would think, but also then there's the chance that, somebody loses a quarterback and then Mac Jones once again is top of mind and maybe top of list. What's your vibe on the Niner quarterback room? Is it as it seems? And they will have these four guys in this order in July in training camp, or is your belief that they will pick up another quarterback, move Jones, move Rourke, move somebody, maybe find somebody else they like in the draft? There is a belief by some in football, and I don't know if Shanahan's in this list, in this group, but there's a belief that the smartest thing to do in football is to draft a quarterback every single season. Yeah. And the Niners have kind of almost followed that to some degree, but they have a pretty loaded room, and I know they like all four of those guys. Give me your read on the Niner quarterback room.
I think it is what it is. I think that what it was 2 weeks ago, what it was 2 months ago, what it was 5 months ago is what it will be come July, August, and week 1 in September. I think Mac Jones is on the plane to Australia with this team because it wasn't so much a prediction as it was me going through on this damn thing and talking to people and saying, what are we hearing, right? Because the Niners had their message, and they made it very clear to the rest of the NFL, and the rest of the NFL was kind enough to loop me in on that. And then I go, okay, so the Niners are saying second-round pick, top 50 pick, and a player, which I know I've told you and the audience before, but that means one or the other if we're being honest about it. But, ask for the full boat, and you might get it. And the rest of the league said, okay, probably not. We'll come back to you. And then no one ever came back. And at this point, it doesn't look like anyone is coming back, because why would you trade anything to get Mac Jones, even if you weren't planning on giving him a new contract, which is perilous in its own concept, when there's a Kirk Cousins sitting out there that you can have for damn near free? Or
not quite the same guy, but yeah.
No, but but you see,
one guy's young and could potentially lead your franchise into the future. The other guy,
well, clearly, but Larry, I mean, you can make that argument. There's not a single team in the NFL that feels that way, including the 49ers.
Here's the thing. I mean, do you think there is something to be said for, just because nobody's traded what the Niners want, which I think is for sure top 50 pick.
It is firmly a top 50 pick. They said top 50 pick and a useful player, and really that was one or the other, right?
But like as you said, there's some of that's posturing. So let's just say for the sake of it, they want a top 50 pick and they won't take less.
Right.
Okay, so if that is indeed the case, there just could be nobody out there that wants to pay that price today. And then also, you may as well, if you're going to do that, and I've always believed this, if you're going to move a draft pick, you should do it on draft day. The picks are more valuable on the day they're being made than in any kind of advanced situation. So I personally, and also, be able to think on your feet and be able to hold that out as long as you want. I mean, that's the biggest, that's the Super Bowl of the off season. I bet you anything that there's a number of teams that would love Mac Jones. They just don't want him for a first or an early second. And that's what the Niners want. So,
but the difference between what I've heard they'd be interested in giving up, which is, day 3 pick, something for the 4th or 5th rounder, and a top 50 pick is a massive chasm. And again, when you're talking about Mac Jones, we have a strong opinion about Mac Jones because Mac Jones just saved the 49ers season. But as I've been telling everyone for months, the rest of the league does not hold Mac Jones in such an esteem. Don't forget that nobody else but Jacksonville wanted him, and the only reason Jacksonville wanted him when the Patriots were giving him away for effectively free was because he was from Jacksonville. And then he becomes a free agent after putting up some pretty impressive garbage time stats and connecting with Brian Thomas in a way that sort of portended what happens with Kendrick Bourne next. But after he's out there slanging the thing with no real repercussions, the only team that wanted him was the San Francisco 49ers, and they were able to get him for a song. So it's not as if this guy has had this robust market. Now, then you can say, but look at what he did this past year, right? He was fantastic. He helped the 49ers get to the playoffs as much as anybody, including Brock Purdy, if not more so than Brock Purdy. But Kyle Shanahan of it all goes the other way, Lair. People think, okay, well, Kyle Shanahan can get that out of him. I'm not Kyle Shanahan. And they're and especially if you are an offensive-minded head coach, there are very few teams, like Green Bay is closest, I would argue. We'll see what's going down with LaFleur. Like, not a lot of teams run the true Shanahan offense. Most of them run a McVay offense, which is 11 personnel by basics, more deep shots, go into a lot more gap runs. And that's why Minnesota was never interested. Kevin O'Connell doesn't run a Shanahan-style offense. They run wide zone as the predication of their run game, but they're a deep shot team. They're a team that wants to push it long, which is why Kyler made more sense for them. And now, again, you're asking, okay, Mac Jones, I have to give something up. I'm getting a guy who's, not exactly physically impressive, right? Nice guy, but a statue in the pocket, one of the worst deep ball throwers, if not the worst deep ball thrower in the NFL. I have to give something up to get him. I'm going to have a weird contract situation because he's in a lame duck year. I don't know if I want to do that when, again, I can just go get Kirk Cousins, who, if Kyle Shanahan could have picked a quarterback, you say, oh, well, Mac Jones in the draft. Well, before that, it was Kirk Cousins. And I know he's coming off the Achilles and all that, but he did look a lot better late last year. It looked like he had kind of gotten over it a little bit. It was never in the cards, and the league just does not view him as an entity worth giving up any sort of value for. They'd take him if he was a free agent. He'd have a job if he was a free agent. But because he's under contract and because the 49ers are not keen to give him up for anything that isn't a good deal for them, logically, it's just not happening. It's never been happening, and no teams circled back once the Niners gave him their price. No team said, yeah, but what about a fourth? They didn't even try.
I love this guy. I mean, I think he's really, really good. To me, it's not about Shanahan. I mean, if you watched the Niners last year with Mac Jones and your takeaway was that Shanahan created that, then I got something to, I'd be like, dude, what are you talking about? They could not run the ball at all. The day that they upset the Rams, they could not run the ball. They ran McCaffrey into a wall that night, like 30 times for like 2.2 a carry or something. It was really bad. They could not run the ball. This wasn't the team that had Debo and Aiyuk, and they didn't have any of those guys. And he didn't have JJ for a big chunk of the year. He had nothing receivers except for George. He had CMC, but not an effective run game.
Agreed.
It wasn't an awesome defense by any stretch. So it's like, I don't know. I mean,
when was the last time we saw him, Lair? Like, what was the last thing we saw of Mac Jones?
85% of his passes.
Yep, they got absolutely curb stomped.
But he also completed 77% his final year at Bama. So I mean, this guy can complete a high percentage.
Then why hasn't he completed high percentages for any offense other than Kyle Shanahan's?
First of all, I mean, let's look at it. He was a Pro Bowler as a rookie, and then he was coached by defensive coaches, and the thing fell apart, and they had no personnel. Then he went to Jacksonville for a year. He backed up Trevor. He actually played decently down the stretch in a couple of those games. I'm not saying he's the greatest thing of all time, but I mean, I think he's better than Darnold. And I saw Darnold every day in practice as well. This guy's more accurate. This guy doesn't go down the field as much. But I mean,
nor should he.
This guy's processes, I think, better than Darnold. He actually, I mean, if I were the Niners, I would just sign him. Him because you know what? Kyle Shanahan wanted this guy for a reason. And as soon as we got a chance to see Mac Jones in his offense, you could see that, you know what? This is what Kyle wants. He wants a pocket passer who can process and be really accurate. And that's what this guy is. Now, I think he also wanted some next level movement ability, which led them to Trey Lance. And surprisingly now he's got both accuracy and next level movement ability with Brock Purdy.
Right.
But what do you think about the idea of signing Jones long term? I'll say this. I think the guy that I would consider trading, I'd try to spot him really well this summer and see if somebody would trade for him is Rourke. Because I think Rourke has got stature. Rourke has got some talent. He also is going to be unique in that everybody's first kind of look at him in the preseason in an NFL game is going to come in his second year,
right,
which is a different deal than the first year. And if he's at all a student of the game, he could look pretty good in the preseason, and somebody could, fall in love. And if you're the Niners, that might be the quarterback to sell off on in late August. What do you think?
That's fair. If he does look good in the preseason, they're going to have a real problem because carrying 3 is, as the Niners found out, a pretty tough thing to do. They make some tough decisions. You're going to have to cut somebody who probably makes some money. It wouldn't be another quarterback, but it would be it'd be somewhere else on the roster. And especially for a team that so values special teams now, that could get really problematic for them in terms of now not having a special teams ace where they have been allocating like 4 or 5 good roster spots for it. So something to keep in mind there. Curtis Rourke can get himself a good job out of this whole thing. He can also, put himself in a really good position to just take over when Mac leaves. And we'll see. I don't think that the Niners love him enough to try to sign him to the long-term deal. I'm not sure Mac Jones would be interested in signing a long-term deal with the 49ers, but there is always the chance that Brock Purdy, an itty-bitty quarterback who runs around with no regard for his own body, puts himself in a bad situation, and then you're really hoping that Mac Jones is interested in signing another deal with you. So I guess there are worse problems to have than if you feel good with Rourke, and you definitely feel good with Jones, riding that and hoping that you have to make a tough decision to get rid of somebody you like down the line. But there's obviously very real situations that come up in the football world where you might need one or both of those guys as the season progresses and as seasons progress. So I do think the Niners are cognizant of keeping their options open. And I think one of the big reasons why they put such a high price tag on Jones, which is, man, do we trust that Brock Purdy is going to get through a whole season healthy? He did it once. He was an MVP candidate when he did it once, but he has done it once. So I don't think you can bank on it moving forward, and Mac Jones, under those circumstances, might be the best contract in the NFL.
And he fits, man. I mean, he did something this last year that was borderline amazing, and he did it in a real subtle, way. Yeah. He came into a room where you had a young quarterback who is the leader, and he found a way to lead the room, but in no way undercut that quarterback, maintain a great relationship, never say the wrong thing,
right,
in a pretty large media market, play like a tremendous player, have the belief of the room, and not interrupt the flow or the belief of the room in Purdy at all.
Right.
I mean, it was as far as, hey man, how do you go about being a great fucking backup quarterback?
Yep.
Mac Jones could almost write a book.
Agreed.
If you could add one quarterback, we'll move to running back. If you could add one quarterback, because they may, if you could add one quarterback in a realistic way, and when I say that, I mean that they're not going to throw big dollars at anybody. They're not going to draft, anybody in the first 2 or 3 rounds. It's a day 3 thing. It's probably not even a day 3 thing. It's probably an undrafted free agent. Is there an undrafted free agent quarterback that you like enough to, if Lynch said, hey, pound the table, who do you want? You want Taylon Green? You want Haynes King? You want, whatever, whomever. Drew Aller, Cade Klubnik, whatever. Is there a quarterback that Lynch comes to you, Dieter, you did your own fucking draft guide.
Right.
Give me a quarterback.
I mean, if Nussmeier's hanging out on day 3, I think they'd be fools to not go there.
It's a good one. I like that one too.
Really good processor. None of the athleticism showed up last year. He was battling through some stuff. You could physically see him like holding his left side pretty much the entire season. It was a pretty poorly coached team, to say the least, with LSU. This was the guy who was supposed to be, the number 1 overall pick coming into the year. Now, we all know that that's, total fugazi of an idea and frankly unfair anchoring for a lot of thoughts. But it's not as if he's some guy who came out of the blue. Like Garrett Nussmeier is a bona fide. He's a coach's son. I think that he would fit in the exact sort of, Mac Jones mold that they clearly like as a backup quarterback, and somebody who maybe more than Rourke. I'm willing to give Rourke a shot here to be, a solid backup, somebody that you can turn to 2 or 3 times a year if you have to, and feel okay about your chances of winning. But I like Nussmeier for an offense that is obsessed with reading progressions, taking some deep shots. He can make those throws, and I liked his accuracy in 24. I'm not a big Taylon Green guy unless Taylon Green wants to go like full Brad Smith and be like a special teams ace and a wide receiver, and every now and again, if you need him, you can play as some sort of a gadget quarterback. Like he's an unbelievable athlete. Let me know how Joe Mixon or what is it, Joe Milton is doing. The guy who can throw the ball like 90 yards in the air. I hate to say it as a Mizzou alum, and I'm sorry you asked me for one. I'm giving you many, but undrafted free agent. I'm interested to see if Jalen Daniels out of Kansas gets drafted. There's something very positive to him. He might also just straight up suck. It is very difficult to tell which one it is, because some games you're like, wow, this guy's really impressive. Yeah, he's small, but he moves around great. He can deliver the ball at a bunch of different arm angles, and really tough, and clearly sees the field well, which you would expect given how long he was in college. But there's something positive to Jalen Daniels, and it wouldn't shock me if he was somebody who came into the league and actually had a little bit of spark for whichever team got him. I think he gets drafted, but if we're talking undrafted free agents, he's the kind of guy I like.
The Nussmeier one's really good. Draft Tech lists him as 86th player overall in the draft.
Yeah, so that sounds about right. I really think it's going to be hard for
third round
him to get out of day 2. I think someone's really going to like him. There's just not that much difference between him and like a Ty Simpson. And Aller has all of this physical potential. And if you're on day 3, like, let's go for it, man. Like, this dude could, hit the moon with his deep shot. Like, he can be absolutely awesome, but he never really put it together. He looks frazzled often, despite having a pretty good offensive line at Penn State. I'll tell you the one guy who they should not take, and I'll speak on Jake's behalf here. Jake hates Baylor quarterback Sawyer Robinson with a deep passion. If I get one more goddamn text about how much he hates Sawyer Robertson, I'm going to lose it. So please do not take him, because it's going to kill Jake.
And we don't want to do that.
No, we don't
want to do that.
I need it.
To me, the 2 quarterbacks I like Jacob Clark from Missouri State, who's big quarterback, 6'5", 220, really smart, honor roll student, super competitive. Has graduated already with a degree in marketing management. He's working on his master's in business. This guy's a really smart guy. So I like him. He's competitive as hell. Tough kid, Texas kid. He's from Rockwell, Texas. Went to Minnesota and transferred and then finished up at Missouri State. So I really like Jacob Clark, and I really like Mark Gronowski.
Gronowski is somebody who I get a good deal of texts about. I'm still a little torn on the tape.
Yeah, no, I don't. The tape is not great because he wasn't in a very good offense, and but I mean, I just like him as far as I love the traits. You got 6'2", 230. He's tough. He'll block. He's strong. He's got 10.25-inch hands. He's a mechanical engineering major, so he's really smart. Very competitive. MVP of the Rely Quest against Vandy. I saw that game. Really liked the way he played in that game. Then he went to the Senior Bowl or the Shrine Game. He was the MVP of the Shrine Game. So I like Gronowski, and I like Jacob Clark. Let's jump to the running backs. What's your vibe on the running back room? This is an interesting room for the 49ers because, on one hand, you would say, well, what do they need, right? They got Christian McCaffrey. And they got Kyle Juszczyk, and they like Kyle Juszczyk. And Juszczyk's actually coming off a pretty good year.
He was good.
CMC was very inefficient. He had 5 games under 3 yards a carry. He was the worst yards over expectation running back in all of the NFL.
Yeah.
So, but on the other hand, he also was a really good receiver. And then you still have Jordan James. You got Garenda, who Kyle doesn't have a lot of confidence in, clearly.
Yeah, I don't think.
And then you have Patrick Taylor, who was re-signed. Yeah. And then there's a lot of talk about Brian Robinson potentially being re-signed, which is very interesting because it just seemed like he didn't fit, and it was like clunky fit all year.
I'd be shocked if he re-signed.
What is your thought on running back? To me, this to me is a very interesting position because I think they need a significant running back.
I agree. They are not in a position to get one. It's the problem. It is. They missed their window to get Tyler Algier, who I thought would have been great for them, or Kenneth Gainwell, who went for a song. They missed that window. Okay, that's their choice. I don't like this draft for running backs because I don't think they're going to be in anywhere near a position to get Love. I think that the drop-off from Love to everybody else is significant, and I think that the drop-off from the second tier, which is the other backup running back or the backup running back at Notre Dame and a couple other guys to the low tier is even more significant. This is not a good running back draft. Most years I can find you a guy in the 3rd, 4th, or 5th round who I'm like, he can start week 1. He's awesome. Nope. I'm not seeing it at all. There will be a guy, but that is going to be out of the blue for me. I think we all just probably need to get comfortable with the concept of Jordan James. And I think we all need to get comfortable with the fact that Najee Harris is probably going to be the only guy that they sign outside of Patrick Taylor. And that's not going to go great, in my opinion. But it just seems to me as if they're going to go status quo, and it's going to look like a huge mistake come October 1. And I hope those 3 carries. I was told pretty consistently from like Thanksgiving onwards that Jordan James was looking really good in practice and that they felt really good about Jordan James. And I was always Jordan James skeptical, but I also didn't have a strong enough opinion to sort of be like, nah, not Jordan James. So when I was starting to hear like, hey, they're really liking what they're seeing from Jordan James in practice, I'm like, what practices do you like? Like, what are you talking about? And then obviously they weren't playing him. They weren't even bringing him up. And I looked like an ass on the show every Thursday as we do these game previews. And I'd be like, I think this is the week that they call up Jordan James because I got a little birdie in my ear telling me this might be the week. And then they never did. And I look like an asshole. But then he gets 3 carries in a game that's a complete blowout. And now I guess that's good enough. So I'm going to stay out of the Jordan James discourse for a while. But it's his job as the number 2. until something happens. And even if they sign Najee Harris, which feels like it's an inevitability at this point, though I've been saying that for such a long time, maybe it's like the Jordan James thing all over again. I just don't think that he can be a number 2 for Christian McCaffrey. I don't think he can carry the load. So it's Jordan James time, and I do think that they're going to have to try to find that one guy who I'm yet to identify in the 3rd, 4th, or 5th round, I guess in their case, the 4th round, as it stands currently, to come in and give them something that Isaac Orendo couldn't, because I think that there's a I'm going to Phoenix on Friday. It's going to be 105 degrees. The chances of me leaving Phoenix hydrated are the exact same chances of Isaac Orendo making this team's roster at the end of August.
He's done. He's done.
I
mean, I said it the very first time I saw the guy. I'm like, this guy does not have running back instincts.
Yeah. It's stunning.
I actually like
he never really played running back.
I like this running back draft. I really do.
Who do you like?
I mean, well, I love them all. Jeremiah Love, I think, is a star.
Yes,
I
he's
think
very good.
Jadarian Price, I think, would be a great Niner.
He's the second best one.
Terrific return guy.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Mike Washington. Now, he fumbles a little bit too much, but he is a big-time slasher. And I liked him at 2 different schools and 2 different offenses. And he looked different. I mean, I swear to you, he looked different.
I'll give you that.
Than he did at Arkansas in his previous stuff. But I like the way he looks. I like Jonah Coleman quite a bit from Washington. I think they probably like him.
Nope.
I like Emmett Johnson from Nebraska quite a bit.
Nope.
I like Seth McGowan from Kentucky, who had the best. This guy's 223 pounds. He had 40-inch vertical. He's got big-time lower body explosion.
He does.
And then I like some of these day 3 guys. I mean, and this is who they have on day 3.
Okay.
So, I mean, Nick Singleton's 220 pounds and has great speed. He's not my favorite back, but
he was the second best back on Penn State last year.
Yeah, I mean, he big, strong, fast though. I mean, wow.
No,
he's really
should have came out last year. He would have made a hell of a lot more money, though. I don't know what his NIL deal was.
Le'Veon Moss, I think, is pretty intriguing for A&M.
A&M, yeah.
I'm a big Jamari Taylor fan.
Yes,
for Virginia. This guy
has a lot to like with Jamari Taylor.
Touchdowns. He's 5'10". He keeps his shoulders square. He runs with much more power than 200-pound back you would think.
Mm-hmm. I can buy a Jamari Taylor. I'm not totally in on him. I've gone through 2 games.
I like the rest of these guys too. I mean, the Clemson back is a stud. I mean, he is just a big
Adam Randall.
I mean, I don't. He's not my favorite back, but I mean, you're talking about 6'3", 235, and really athletic. I love Jam Miller from Alabama. Alabama
we can have a conversation about Jam Miller now. That's an interesting
great blocker.
Great blocker, great pass catcher.
I was going to say he might be the best blocker in the class.
Yep.
I love Jam Miller as a blocker.
Yes.
And he's got good speed at 200. I don't know what he's going to weigh. What is he, 210, 220?
He can deliver a thump.
So that's that. These guys are none of these guys are. These are all late day 3 guys. I like Raj.
I don't know if Jam's going to be late day 3. I think
I love Faison from South Carolina. I mean, that's a very, very athletic player who they say is late in the draft. Eli Heidenreich from Navy. I think it's a real. Yeah, he's small, but he's a gadget guy. I love the kid Robert Henry from UTSA. I think he's a solid NFL back.
Yeah,
I love Kalen Black from Indiana. He's one of my favorite players. And even further down this list, Jamal Haynes from Georgia Tech is really intriguing. The Keyshawn Owens from Florida International is one of my favorite backs.
Okay.
The Virginia Union back, Curtis Allen, who runs upright, but he's 6'2", 215 pounds. He's intriguing.
Okay.
So, I mean, the North Dakota State back, Barika Pinu, is, he's kind of he's kind of a bow-legged back. It reminds me a little bit of Izzy Abanaconda, who I really liked, and nobody else seemed to like him, including the NFL. But
Jag.
Yeah. So anyway, there's a number of backs there. Probably of this.
It's so funny. You just named off like 12 backs, and
I like Keyshawn Owens.
There are some 13. There are some very positive qualities. I think Jam Miller is the one that gets me most excited having watched these guys. you didn't mention the one guy.
And they had a terrible year, by the way, running the ball.
And
Bama could not run the ball this year.
Correct, and they fired their offensive line coach accordingly. They could run it left a little bit because of Proctor. They ended up just doing Jam Miller on swing passes as their run game. That was the entire thing. And when Miller went out, their season went to hell because their entire offense for stretches was just Jam Miller on swing passes. So there's something to be said for, hey, you need somebody to be a third down back, right, for Christian McCaffrey, which I know is a ridiculous notion because Christian McCaffrey's such a great receiver and all that. But, like, how about somebody who can be a dirty work back? I think they're going to go with Najee Harris to do that because Najee Harris will come here on a song. But
I mean, Najee's a friend. I would love to see him here. He's a great.
I think he's going to get a lot of. I think the Chronicle's going to write the bejesus out of it, and then he'll have a 42-yard game in the preseason. And everyone's going to get super excited, and then we're going to get to the regular season and be like, "Oh no, this has gone horribly wrong." But it's so funny. You named 13 guys. You didn't mention the one guy who, as it stands now, Demond Claiborne. Sorry, I want to say Desmond, but Demond Claiborne out of Wake Forest does seem to me to be the right cut of a bunch of different stuff for the 49ers in particular. And I know that he's going to be a bit divisive for some, but I really like Claiborne. I get these gut feelings. A couple of years ago it was Kamani Vidal. Every year I get a guy, and I don't think I actually had one last year for shock of all shocks. I say every year, and then I didn't have one last year. Claiborne is the guy who he's got underneath my rib, and I can't shake it. That's the one guy who, if I had to plant a flag right now and say this is the day 3 dude who could start for somebody in week 1, I'm going with Claiborne out of Wake Forest. Okay. And it's so funny. He wasn't the one of all the names you mentioned, some of which are very good players, some of which I disagree with vehemently.
He was a high school sprinter. I'm reading it here. High school sprinter, track and field. He was the 2021 Virginia class AA 100-meter dash title champion or finished runner-up in the 200 meters and won the 100-meter dash.
And even more importantly, he's good at running back. It's like I'm a fan. He's a physical freak.
He was a four-star high school prospect.
And coming out of that weird slow mesh system that they run at Wake Forest, I feel like there's more to be had. So I think a lot of people will look at it and be like, "Oh, where's the vision?" But it's not a normal offense at all. It's a no vision offense on just predication.
Beat your Missouri Tigers his freshman year in the Gasparilla Bowl. You probably have scars.
I mean, we all remember where we were during the Gasparilla Bowl that year. It's a ball. The issue with him is going to be ball security. It will knock him off the board. And power,
right? He's 195 pounds. He's 5'10", 195.
Yeah, but if you like R.J. Harvey or Bashir Tootin last year, this guy is right in that wheelhouse. He's kind of like Tootin 2.0, and I think a lot of teams wish that they felt more about Tootin. They were Tootin for Tootin come draft day.
To me, the Niners, they have a need here, but there's lots of candidates that could fill that need, and it's like if they didn't get a back, it wouldn't be a disaster.
Right.
If they go for the veteran back, that wouldn't be a disaster. They're kind of fortified there. We've gone from quarterback to running back to tight end.
Yeah.
So Kittle's on IR, going to probably spend the first half of the year on IR. He says he's going to be back week 1. Nobody should believe that.
Nobody should want that.
And nobody should want that. And the rest of these guys, Tonjes is a good receiver. Mm-hmm. Luke Farrell, not impressed. I mean, I talked to him last year, decent guy, but not impressed. Doesn't do a lot for me. Braden Willis does less for me. Hayden Rucci, don't know a ton about him. But to me, it seems like they need a significant tight end. Now, here's the question.
Yeah.
Do they go for, TJ Hawkinson? 1-year flyer on TJ Hawkinson. They have the cap room to do it. Or and don't try to find the next George and just go with TJ Hawkinson and Tonjes and the guys that you got, and then wait for George to get healthy and go look at other positions? Or is there a tight end that you like? I mean, I personally think the best value tight ends, I like Hibner from SMU, and I like RJ Maryland from SMU. I like those two SMU tight ends quite a bit. Hibner's more of a blocker. Maryland is strictly a receiver, but he's a damn good receiver. Yeah. I don't love the tight end group. I really don't. I don't think this is a stellar class of tight ends.
Well, it's kind of a thick class of tight ends. There's a lot of wild cards in that sort of early day 3
kind of like Royer a little bit. Yeah. Joe Royer.
Cincinnati. People like him.
I like him a little bit.
I'm not sure that Royer is a true tight end in a lot of ways. There's a lot of guys like that. A lot of here's a blast from the past. A lot of Chase Kaufmans, right?
Missouri.
Like, yes, where it's like,
big,
are you a tight end? Yeah, you're not a tight end. You're a Y receiver. Like, there's a big difference. And just in the same way, I don't enjoy like guys who are just, speed rushers off the end. Like, I don't enjoy tight ends that are completely useless in the blocking game. And, sorry, Jake Tonjes applies in that way too. I know he tries, but like you can't play Jake Tonjes on specific downs. And then the problem is, we'll play Luke Farrell on that down, but he can't do squat on the downs that he's supposed to do stuff on. And if George Kittle doesn't tear his Achilles, Luke Farrell's on another team right now because they definitely cut him. But now they only have 2 tight ends that they can justify going into the season with. He's still on the roster. Listen, if Kenyon Sadiq gets anywhere near 20, the 49ers need to get aggressive and go get him. I don't think he will. I don't think he gets past 9. So Sadiq would be a blessing. After Sadiq, it's just straight up wild cards. It really is. Of all the guys out there, Oscar Delp out of Georgia, I probably feel the most strongly about.
He's a good receiver.
Yeah, and Georgia does ask their tight ends to be physical. I don't know if I haven't gotten too deep into him to have a strong opinion about his inline blocking, but Jake's all in on Dalen Bentley out of Utah. I haven't seen anything to disprove that notion as sort of the guy, but Claire's a blocking tight end. Eli Stowers can't block. Michael Trigg is not using his body correctly. Is there a nice way to put that? Not really. There's something to Jack Endries out of Texas. It is. It's tough. I like the kid out of Houston, Tanner Koziel, who had a really nice Senior Bowl. I don't think he can block either. He tries, but he really can't. Sam Roush out of Stanford's a name that we get asked about a lot on the show. I don't see it yet. I probably won't see it. Riley Nowotowski's a fullback, which is an interesting idea to get like an H-back type. And I think Nowotowski, if he gets into the 7th round, the Niners should trade their ass into the 7th round and get him as Juice's replacement because he could be really fun and interesting there and give them more of that 21-12 shift at the line of scrimmage. He was outstanding. There's actually a couple of pretty good fullbacks in this class. I think Nowotowski could be a really good pro fullback. But it is not a good tight end class, and this is the year where they really need a good tight end class because, we put the word out on Charlie Kohler 3 months ago, and
he went somewhere.
I mean, yeah, he went for a lot, and we went to the Chargers, which if you know, you know. So, yeah. Listen, David Njoku is an interesting concept if you can get him very cheap. I don't think David Njoku is too interested in coming to San Francisco. Jonnu Smith can't block. Taysom Hill is not Kyle's kind of player because he's not actually good at any particular thing, but I'm willing to hear it out.
A lot of talk he's going to Philly.
That would be that would be pretty good. That'd be pretty interesting. I really liked Will Dissly a couple of years ago, but he got cut with a failed physical, so I don't know if Will Dissly's going to play football again. And then, the one guy that I actually feel pretty good about as a tight end, as a free agent tight end, is John Fitzpatrick. But John Fitzpatrick doesn't catch footballs. He's a blocking tight end. So what do you can just try with, you already have theoretically one of those in Farrell, though he doesn't really block anybody. Maybe Robert Tonyan, but he's probably broken at this point.
Yeah, his body's beaten up.
It's done.
I'll tell you the 2 guys I like.
Sure.
I like I already told you I like the SMU guys, Matthew Hibner and RJ Maryland, and they're both projected to go, as undrafted free agents. But two guys who are in that 7th round area that I think are really good players. I like Bauer Sharp from LSU, who's, 6'5", about 250. And there's just enough there. There's enough there as an athlete. There's enough there as an inline blocker. There's enough there as far as athleticism, as far as hands, ball skills. I really like Bauer Sharp. He doesn't do anything great, but he's like a really interesting prospect. But
there's something to be said too about betting on guys at LSU after this year, because you're getting them for a song because their offense was so inept. But part of me thinks like, man, if you had Signetti coaching LSU last year, they're going undefeated. Like
I mean, you just can't evaluate their tape. It's just their offense was so bad. But the other guy that I really like is, I didn't love him in college, but I love Nate Bokercher.
Oh, it's. I mean, how much do I have you pegged? I'm literally on his page right now.
Now, not just because I'm an A&M fan.
Yeah,
this guy's a good blocker.
He is.
He's really a good blocker, and he's a competitive player. I mean, he doesn't have the reps as a receiver. I think he's just nominal as a receiver. But if you're looking, you got to think about Shanahan. He likes receivers that block. He likes tight ends that block. He likes running backs that block. Everybody's got to block. Jam Miller's a great fit for them, and now Nate Bokercher's a good fit for them, because he's a day 3 tight end there's enough movement ability to threaten, but he is going to absolutely block the man across from him. Yeah. And I think that's what they're about. So I like Bokercher to them on day 3.
Give me Delp. Of all the names that I've listed off, too many.
I love
of them.
Delp too. He's a great receiver.
Delp. Yeah.
Delp kind of reminds me a little bit more of like a big rangy receiver, like maybe like a poor man's Loveland.
That's actually not bad. That's pretty good. But
he's a pretty good receiver.
He is.
Delp is a pretty good receiver. All right, let's jump to wide receiver.
Sure.
The 49ers, this is interesting. What did you think of the move today? The Niners today picked up Christian Kirk, and once again, now I'm an A&M fan. He went to A&M.
It's been a minute now.
Yeah, it's been a long time. But you know what? This guy has always been he's always had the physical ability to be a difference maker. And he's a 4.4 guy that plays faster than that. Mm-hmm. He's got a little bit better ball skills than you think. And I kind of get the feeling, just looking at the way he's progressed with his body and his hands, he almost looked this year like this is the best I've ever seen him look. I mean, he played great in the playoff game against the Steelers. He had 177 yards and a couple touchdowns. He had another good game against New England. Mm-hmm. He had a couple really good playoff games. The guy can run. I mean, if you want wide receivers that separate, I think he makes sense. And you know what? To me, I think the Niners were thinking about Debo, knew they were going to get killed for Debo, and then said, you know what? We can find, for what we pay Sky Moore, we can find somebody who gives us what Sky Moore will give us, but will also give us somebody from scrimmage. And I think that's what they're getting here. What do you think of him?
I don't think he's a return man at this point in his career. I think he fits a lot of what they need, which is someone who's just going to run the damn routes at the depths that they're asked to be run at. Like someone who's a pro. I think he's lost that 4.4 speed, if I'm being frank, and I think he's making up for it with being just deft and smart and a good tactician. And I think that he's entering his Bobby Trees phase, which, Woods was never like the burner the way that Kirk was, but when he lost the step that he did have, how did Robert Woods stay in the league for 12 years? And why is he now, assistant coach for the Rams, even though he probably could have still played for another year or two? It's because he's just a pro. He knows when they ask for a 7-yard out, it's 7 yards, not 8, not 6 or 5, it's 7. And I need to position my body in just a way so that the quarterback can deliver the ball in the way that tacticians matter. And when you are the 49ers and you just went through a season where you had a 2-game stretch where Kendrick Bourne, who did not know the plays, was the thing holding up your offense. And when you go into the postseason and you're calling timeouts because your wide receivers don't know where to line up in a playoff game, and you're running out there with kids, and you can't play a Jordan Watkins because you do not trust that he knows what he is doing yet on a football field in an offense. Like, Kyle Shanahan was a wide receiver in college. He is exacting in what he asks for. He has a quarterback now in Brock Purdy who is exacting in what he asks for because he cannot see you. So he needs to know that you're running the route as prescribed. And beyond that, you get a guy in Ricky Pearsall who can do those things if he's not being bumped around by 2 dudes at the line of scrimmage because you're playing him at X, which he was never supposed to be. He was supposed to be your Debo replacement at Z with Brandon Aiyuk as your X and then Juwan Jennings or whomever else as your sort of power slot because you don't have a lot of heft at those 2 other positions anymore. Well, that gets totally thrown for a loop. Now you got Juwan Jennings, who can't separate from anybody, but is a hell of a receiver, don't get me wrong, playing X, or Pearsall, who needs the free release. And if you give him that free release, he can really do some damage, but he needs that free release. And we saw in the divisional round him on a bum knee, just getting pinballed at the line of scrimmage by Job, playing X. You get, Demarcus Robinson, who looked great in training camp, as you can attest to, Lair, and then goes away for the whole playbook during that stretch, to the point where they don't want to play him anymore, and then they have to play him, and he gives you a good game. But even on his most impressive play, he does something kind of stupid where he cuts in when he could have just ran to the end zone against the Eagles. It didn't matter, but it's just all of these things where just nothing ever seemed to go right at wide receiver. So what did they do? They went and got Mike Evans, who, if he can stay healthy, is the definition of consistency and being a pro's pro, right? So you're getting all of the Juwan Jennings things that you like, but so much more. And then you're going and you're getting a guy in Christian Kirk who will find a way to get the job done and will do the job as the offense describes it. And now you get to put Pearsall in a position of Z where you can move him around, which they wanted to do but haven't really had the opportunity to because of the personnel around him so often. You get to get him that free release off the line of scrimmage. And if he doesn't pan out, okay, then you can go into your depth chart here a little bit. And you can see if Watkins can be that guy. Or you can just train Watkins solely at X to be a clear-out X receiver. Now you can bring in a guy in the draft and say, hey, we're going to give you some time because you're not getting thrown in there in week 1. We can figure out what we got here, but we don't think Pearsall is the long-term answer, which I don't think is what they're saying. But they could announce that very loudly by taking a wide receiver in the first round. But now they have that replacement there. And halfway through the season, that transition can happen. Now Demarcus Robinson is in a position where you don't need to rely on him. He can just be a veteran receiver who can make some plays every now and again, but he's not needed in the same way. I think they did a really wonderful job. Now, this is all entirely based on if 2 guys who kind of get injured a bit can stay healthy. And then that doesn't even get into Pearsall and the kids. But just having competence at that position is huge. And it's funny you mentioned Debo. I mean, Debo would have been the first one to tell you back when they went to the Super Bowl for the first time in 2019, the entire season changed when they got Emmanuel Sanders because Wes Welker was the wide receivers coach. And I don't know how to say this nicely, but Wes Welker was a garbage wide receivers coach. He could not get the message across to anybody on how to run. Kyle was the receivers coach in sort of in absentia because Wes Welker was not good at it, to where when Mike McDaniel's like, I'm going to take Wes Welker, Kyle's like, please, absolutely take Wes Welker. They didn't even fight him on it. He just let him go. Good luck to that with that one, Mike. And that worked out just gangbusters for Mike. It's probably one of the main reasons why he got fired in Miami, amongst so many other reasons. But they get Emmanuel Sanders, and Emmanuel Sanders effectively, and he talked to me about this a bunch that season, becomes the wide receivers coach for that team. And he got Debo to buy into the idea of it's written this way for a reason. Run the routes as they're written because the ball will get there and then you get a chance to do cool stuff. But if you do cool stuff, the ball's not getting to you. So no one's going to notice how cool that was that you just beat that dude off the line. And that was at a time when Debo could actually beat guys off the line. I think having Evans and Kirk in the room with all these young guys is going to boost the stock of the young guys. And I think is definitely going to improve the competency of the 49ers offense, which was really middling oftentimes last year. And even Purdy, who can make a lot of stuff happen, I think he got really frustrated with it. He'll never admit it, but I think he got really frustrated with it. And I've heard that from sort of third parties late in the season.
Where do you think they're going to jump in this draft and go for a wide receiver?
I think that they're in a pretty good position to do it anywhere they want because this wide receiver class is loaded. That said, I think that they might be in a really good position to do it with that second round pick if they wanted to. I'm not sure they want to, but if a guy like Brazel is there, who I think is the second best receiver in this class out of Tennessee, but he's not going to be for everybody, that would be a gangbusters pick. I think he's an unbelievable X receiver option, and you do need to think about who's going to be after Mike Evans, or frankly, with Mike Evans this upcoming season, because I just don't know what they think Jordan Watkins is right now. But they can just take a flyer on it on day 3, and it's, there's no guarantee any of this works, but there's so many good wide receivers in this class that they're going to get bumped down and drafted way lower than they probably should go. Like I like a Ted Hurst out of Georgia State is a really, really interesting option, and it might not work out, right? But worth a shot if we're talking about, pick 132 or whatever. Sorry, I don't have the picks in front of me. Just a lot of really good wide receivers and enough good wide receivers where you can be discerning about them. Like Jacoby Lane is a day 3 pick. There were a lot of weeks last year where Jacoby Lane was the better receiver on USC. And if I were to have guessed, having watched a couple of USC games late in the season, which receiver, Malachi Lemon or Jacoby Lane, was going to be the first one taken, I'd be like, I think it's going to be Lane. He's really impressive. And instead, everyone's like, Malachi Lemon is going to be a first-round pick. It's like, oh, shit, well, guess I don't know anything. Like, Jacoby Lane on day 3 would be an absolute hit.
I mean, Jacoby Lane, I thought I didn't get a chance to look at the combine until I got back from Arizona, and I had a chance to watch it afterwards. But when I got a chance to watch his drills, I mean, he is just awesome.
He's awesome.
His ball skills, his gauntlet, his ability to pluck the ball, high point the ball he's really intriguing to me. I think the sweet spot for the Niners is that second round at receiver. Good guys. I mean, I agree with you. I think there's a lot of receivers. Carnell Tate, Mekhi Lemon, Jordan Tyson, Denzel Boston. Those guys are all going in the first round. But,
I'm not
receivers,
sure about Boston, but I don't like Boston.
I'm not a Boston guy either, but I think those guys are all going in the first round, and I think they push everybody down. So, like in round 2, the list of Omar Cooper, love him.
Yeah.
Kevin Concepcion from A&M, really think he's good.
Yeah.
Zachariah Branch from Georgia,
he might
really
be right
electric.
Yeah.
Chris Bell from Louisville. Pauline says they like him. He's probably right. Jeremy Bernard from Bama.
Bernard would be a tremendous pick at the end of round 2 because he does feel like a round 2 guy. Great long speed, really impressive. There were stretches that Alabama Alabama had, I think it's, forgive me, Ryan Williams. They're
right. The high recruit
totally disappeared last year, and it wasn't for double coverage. Right, he just disappeared, and Jeremy Bernard's like, "Get on my back! Like we're doing this thing."
So I mean, you got Jeremy, you've got Malachi Fields, you got Ted Hurst, you got Jacoby Lane,
Elijah Surratt,
Surratt, Antonio Williams. I mean, there's guys. Jeff Caldwell from Cincinnati at 6'5", ran in the 4.3s, and then there's day 3 guys. Like Ty Montgomery from John Carroll. I like Dylan Bell quite a bit from Georgia. Mm-hmm. There's guys that have issues away from the field. Boy,
are there.
Ra Thomas is one of my favorite guys from Troy, but Ra's had some issues. So all I'm saying is,
can I throw 2 day 3 guys your way?
A receiver or 2 could be coming their way, but I don't think anybody's going to come their way in the first round.
I think that 2 names to really keep an eye on. Forgive me, I just had him here. I think Caden Weegan as a returner late would be a really good pick. I think he's going to be a very special returner. And then Kevin Coleman out of Mizzou as a Z receiver in a tight splits. He's money. He's absolute money. And there were stretches where Luther Burden was a great player at Mizzou. Got bored often, kind of rinky-dink offense at Mizzou. But there were times where Coleman was far and away the better receiver between the two of them. And he got some really crappy quarterback play last year, and he still made things happen. If he's sitting there on day 3, he's not, people love Branch, people love all this stuff. Like, this guy's a pro. This guy's just a pro, and he's going to be in the pros for a very long time. And if you like Christian Kirk, you're going to love Kevin Coleman. If you like Casey Concepcion, have I got a light version of him in Kevin Coleman? He was a monster at Mississippi State. He was great at Missouri. I feel really good about Coleman.
Yeah, no, really good, exciting kid. He's a St. Louis kid who went to Mississippi State and then finished up at home there for Missouri. And you're right, he's an electric player.
But again, good deep wide receiver class. So if you don't get one early, that doesn't mean that you're screwed because they're all gone. Like, they're going to be undrafted free agent wide receivers that are going to make NFL rosters this year.
Offensive line.
Yeah.
What do you make of the offensive line? The Niners have Trent Williams, but we have no guarantees that he's coming back. A lot of indications that he is.
Yeah.
They don't have a left guard, and the talk is that Spencer Burford is visiting the Chargers as we speak.
Yeah.
Ben Barch just went to visit Detroit earlier today. Brendel's the center. Pooney's the right guard. McKivitz is the right tackle. Mm-hmm. Right now, I guess left guard would be some combination of Connor Colby, Nick Zakel. Brett Toth was just brought in. They also signed Vidarian Lowe.
Yeah.
Toth has got experience at center and guard, though he played tackle at Army.
Yeah.
Lowe is a guard, but he's got 35-inch arms. He could play tackle, a swing tackle spot.
Yeah, I like him in a swing tackle.
What do you think of where the Niners are? What are they going to do what would you add to this group?
They're in a wonderful position to get somebody really impressive in this draft. Now, I firmly believe that you should not take a true guard in the first round because of let's call it the Tyler Linderbaum effect, which is their 5th-year option becomes a real problem because you're grading them against all offensive linemen. So that number becomes prohibitive. So unless you're getting a Quentin Nelson, it's not worth it, full stop, to take a true guard in the first round. But there are enough. It's not a class that has enough clear cut like true left tackles but it has enough tackles that you can slide to guard and enough right tackles particularly that are really good that if you wanted to take somebody at 27, they can do sort of the 2 birds, 1 stone effect, have your cake and eat it too, of you can play them at left guard to start their career. And then when Trent's career is done, and I do expect resolution with Trent this week, when Trent's career is done, you can slide him out and you can play him at left tackle. And that's unbelievable. And the fact that you can get that at 27 because there's so many of those guys in this class is one of one. I think Proctor at 27 would be incredible for them. I'm a big Caden Proctor fan. If he didn't have 30 bad pounds on him, he wouldn't be anywhere near the 49ers, but he does.
He may not get to him anyway. I mean,
that's true.
Tankathon has him going 23 to the Eagles.
There's a big margin for error with this kind of stuff right now, but it does seem clear that he's going to be somewhere between 35 and 20 to me. I do not think he's a true lottery pick. I do think there's enough concerns about that weight, but he could be a really awesome guard in the short term. And I think that he has the physical traits to be an elite tackle in this league. I think the Niners are going to see it the same way too. I've told you before, the Niners are real sticklers about their offensive line grades. They will not overdraft a player. And very rarely, because of the fact that there's just no good offensive linemen generally in the NFL level or at the college level, because they just don't make them big in the world all that often. The Niners don't get the guys that they liked in the draft because they got drafted 50 picks earlier than the Niners thought they should have gotten picked, and they're not going to adjust for inflation here. But when we're talking about, I think two guys really stand out to me as viable options for them. First round, I think Caden Proctor would be perfect for him. I think Isaiah World in the second round would be really, there's a lot to really like there as that late second round pick, the Oregon kid. Obviously some questions.
ACL.
Yeah, he tore his ACL, but man, there's a reason that people thought he was a top 10 pick coming into the year. Now, he played himself out of that, to be fair. But man, he's really good. And this is a great guard class. I'm not an Ioane guy at all, but I am an Emmanuel Pregnon man through and through. That guy's awesome. Chase Basantis is very, very good. I like Logan Jones out of Iowa quite a bit. And even if you get into day 2, day 3, I think there are some viable options there. On top of that, there's still a lot of good guards available in free agency. And I'm fascinated to find out what happens with a guy like Wyatt Teller. I'm not sure what he wants to do. I'm not sure what Joel Bitonio wants to do. I like Kevin Zeitler more than others. I get that he's got 14 years and is 36 years old. I'm willing to give him some money to show up for a year and see what happens. I think there's really good options here if the 49ers want to at least diversify the portfolio a little bit more. And I just don't know where this market goes with the current unsigned guys. Is this something that happens after the draft, or is this something that happens in the next week or two where these guys get new contracts somewhere, sort of precluding the 49ers from maybe doing the have your cake and eat it too thing? But of all the positions that feel kind of up in the air right now, this is the position I feel that the Niners are in the best position to properly address given the assets that they have at hand.
If you said make a prediction on what I think they would do,
yeah,
my prediction would be they get to 27, they trade out of the first round into day 2, into the top of the second round.
Yeah.
And my guess is they may even trade down again a few spots, but my guess is in a very safe spot in the 40s, they take Keelan Rutledge from Georgia Tech, who's a plug and play starter for them at left guard. And then I think they come back.
Second round pick.
I know. I think. What do you think? He's a third round pick?
Yeah, I think he's early day 3.
Yeah. Day 3. You think he's a fourth round pick?
Yeah.
I think my guess is Rutledge in round 1 and like Chris Bell in round 2. They always seem like they go for kind of low end guys that they like, and I don't think they want to go offensive line, but I think they need to go, offensive line, and I think they're probably going to go guard. That'll be my guess, and I think Rutledge is their kind of guy. I love Pregnon too. I think Pregnon's a beast. I mean, I love Venga Owane.
I definitely see the value in him. I just don't think he's worth a first round pick at all. Full stop. If you're taking him at 40, there's a different conversation.
Now, to me, it's like there's value in some of these spots on the offensive line. The guys that I really like, I love Micah Morris, who had a great 10-yard split. He's a big kid. His film is not very good. He needs a lot of work, but he's got a great athleticism to him, and he's a big guy who's played in the SEC. I really like him day 3.
Okay.
And I really, really like the Oklahoma guard, Fabechi Owawu, who I think is a center. I think, God, I watched this kid. He's just so freaking strong. Yeah. And guys just fold off of, anybody across from him is just going down. He's just so strong. I love that guy. And I love Emil Wagner and J.C. Davis at tackle on day 3. And to me, I like these guys better than I like some of the offensive linemen early. I mean, I see what people see in some of these offensive linemen, including Proctor. I mean, God knows he's big. I kind of like Jennings Dunker as a guard, who I don't
definitely as a guard.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I like him as a left guard. I don't know if he can project to tackle, but I don't know that that's important. I think he could be a plug and play player at left guard for the 49ers. So I don't know.
I'll tell you a name that I really, really like, Lair, is Brian Parker who I think can play all five.
Very strong, very strong.
I think that there's forgive me, I'm forgetting his name with Tampa, the guy that they drafted in the first round, who they've crossed.
Who's a center at Duke.
Yeah, Graham Barton.
Yeah.
He's not Graham Barton. Graham Barton was surefire. This guy is not. But man, I mean,
this guy's tough though. This guy's really
good.
strong.
He was so good in the Shrine Bowl and in those practices, and that's the kind of player that you bring in. Now, I will also say,
supposedly he's a badass tough guy too.
That's good because this team needs more maulers. They need a mean sumbitch at left guard. I think that they have it in Pooney. He's going to be healthy this year. I think that operating on the premise of can you just hold the damn anchor is going to be big, and insulating Brendel in the same way that the Rams have insulated their offensive line, just getting maulers and looking at Seattle, understanding that teams that don't know what they're doing are just going to try to copy the champs and, try to cheat their way to success by just emulating what Seattle does. You need some dudes who got some serious punch. Maybe Connor Colby can do it. I was never a big Connor Colby guy. I know Zakelj can't do it. Maybe Brett Toth can do it. Maybe they bring back Ben Barch. Maybe they just have 5 guys in camp and they'll just figure it out on the fly. I will say I do like the Lowe signing. I think that he's a really nice prospect at swing tackle. A lot of
people like that one.
Long arms. I like long arms in a true tackle, and getting a swing tackle who, listen, you got to play him for a couple games. You're not going to die out there, right? Like Brock Purdy's not going to be killed because you have Vidarian Lowe at left tackle for a game or two. Now, if he's there every game, we might have a bigger issue. But game or two, I think you get Chris Forster with them. There's a couple things you can really clean up. I think that was a good signing and a really good discount signing. So they're doing good work on that front. They just have to figure out who their left guard is, and they cannot have this much of a wild card. They need at least to have somebody who looks like at least the standard bearer there that has to get the job taken from them. I don't feel comfortable saying it's Toth right now. I have heard people say it is Toth in that regard. That doesn't feel awesome.
You and I can go for so long on so many things. So we'll save defense for next week.
That sounds good.
But because we're already way past our time. But the Niners have brought in on defense Osa Odigizua.
Love it.
They brought back Dre Greenlaw. They brought in Nate Hobbs.
Yeah.
And just, there's a lot of talk that they're going to go for Joey Bosa. Where are you with the 49ers and what they've done defensively? And is there a defensive free agent or draft choice that you are just like, man, they got to go get this guy?
The guy that I really felt strongly about was the Texas linebacker. Just give me a second. Sorry, totally spaced. Anthony Hill. That ain't happening now. Unless he's somehow at the bottom of the second round and you can view him as even then, I just can't see it. So that was the guy I felt really strongly about. I've cooled a little bit on Zion Young. The bend doesn't really hold up to a deep scrutiny as it stands. So it wouldn't be a bad pick at 27, but I wouldn't feel like it's an inspired pick at 27. It'd be unbelievable in the second round. But at 27, it feels a little rich just from where I sit. I think that the name that we should be keeping an eye on is Akeem Mesidor out of Miami. And because
he's ready to go right now.
Ready to go, full-grown adult, 24 years old. That's not ideal, but hey, especially if you could trade back into get pick 33 or pick 34 or something and get him, my goodness, what a selection that would be. He's played all across the line, so you get that versatility. I just don't love the Joey Bosa idea. I've known Joey a long time. He's a great guy. He's a hell of a football player. He's put in a great shift. I still think he has something to offer. I don't think the Niners would be hurt by having Joey Bosa on their roster at all. You don't have a speed element, and you're great on first and second down with the roster that you have. You add Joey Bosa, and you feel even better about it. But you don't have anybody outside of Nick Bosa who's got a pass rush back, who can get home and off the snap, get into the backfield. Like you're betting on Osa to have a big pass rushing year from 3-tech, and then for Nick Bosa to come back looking like his full self, which after a third ACL, there has to be some incredulism to that. So you need somebody who can fire off the line, has the bend, probably a liability on first and second down as a run defender, but is just a quarterback killer. And it's a pretty good class for that, all things considered. Ironically, these are the guys that I oftentimes kind of fade, but there's some good ones. I mean, I'm not a big, again, in general, like I'm not a big R. Mason Thomas guy, but he would make a lot of sense for this team. Like he wouldn't make sense for this team if he needed to start, right? Because he doesn't hold up. I don't like him in the run game at all, but he does fire off the line, get around the edge, and get to the quarterback. And if you're just asking for someone to come in and kill it on third down for a year or two, like I think he can do it. There's a bunch of guys like that. Joshua Josephs at Tennessee, same sort of thing.
Yeah, very athletic, a little on the light side, but he is a great pass rusher.
And that's what I'm saying, kind of that ilk, right? Yeah. Maybe a Hassan Reddick is a free agent.
The guy that I really like, now you got to remember Raheem Morris is going to be making this pick. And, these are Raheem Morris's guys now. And I think he's probably looking for his Jared Verse. And the guy that kind of reminds me of Jared Verse is Gabe Yakus.
Yeah.
Who's 6'3". He's a legit 270. He was on the Bruce Feldman freaks list. Because he is a freak athlete for sure. And not only that, he was a state champion and an all-state wrestler. And just the combination of that wrestling background, he's not a bad guy, he's a good guy.
Yep.
And I think they're going to be looking for somebody that they could be like, we want Jared Verse. And I think they're going to see Jared Verse and Gabe Yakus. I think they could take him at 27, but I also think they could trade down and probably get him in the second round. So
I think that's a good call. Also, another name to keep in mind in free agency, like a DJ Wanham, is kind of just a speed rusher out the outside. They need a Bryce Huff type. They need a D Ford type. They need a Samson Ebukam type. Like they need what they thought they were getting from Leonard Floyd, but of course Leonard Floyd was never going to give them. They need that third down. Nick Bosa goes to 5-tech. Mikel goes to 3. Osa's at 1. Who's the 9? Who's the opposite 9? Who's going to get that sort of free release to the quarterback off the way out their edge, and who's going to get home? And who has the kind of moves to beat a tackle when they're out on an island? And it'd be nice to say, hey, that's Bosa, but okay, well then who's playing 5 technique for you on the other side? Or really, it's more like a 7 because you split it out even wider. Like who's in that? Is that going to be your Keon White there? And now, or do you expect Mikel to be able to do that with Keon at 3? Like you have some interesting options. And if you were running a defense that was more Seattle-minded, which is just collapse the pocket as a collective, that's one thing. But you're still running the wide 9, which means that you're setting it up for the star on the way outside. And I thought Huff did a good job in that in the very limited snaps that we saw this season, where the 49ers were able to get into that, they like to call it a NASCAR package. They have a lot of great personnel for this NASCAR package, but they're missing that second true pass rusher. They have a lot of good defensive linemen, but they only have one really good pass rusher.
Let's hit our supers and then we'll bolt for the door. We've got this one from Propa. If you sign these old guys, why not push for a big fish like Crosby or Jalen Carter? I like the off season so far, but those guys take you to a different level. Well, Carter, basically you got Odigizua. Odigizua is, you don't need Jalen Carter anymore. You've got your interior rusher. As far as Crosby goes, I don't know that the Niners, were ever going to be able. I mean, they were never going to have 2 number 1s to trade. They just weren't. That price tag was too exorbitant.
They made it very clear that they were not interested in 27 or anything else for Crosby, because it's so funny, everyone pretends as if it's just so funny. no one disagreed that Max Crosby should have pulled a nice return, right? But I got, let's call it 7 or 8 texts the second that Crosby goes down. And a couple of them are like, whoa, you see this? And then 3 or 4 of them were from people who'd be like, the response was pretty much to a T. Good luck with that. Because nobody has harder miles. The guy doesn't come off the field. He's grounded down to the bone. It was, it's his knee. Well, it's also his shoulder, and it's also 2 other things that, no one could quite pinpoint. So it's the whole damn thing. He's like George Kittle out there. There's stuff that's strapped on. It's like, oh, it's not an injury. It's like, well, the hell it isn't. Of course it's an injury. You're just able to play through it and still be great. Yeah, he's a truck with a very high odometer. Just because he plays for the Raiders doesn't mean that he hasn't been out there every snap. He was on the Raiders when they were in Oakland. So the idea that, the 2 first-round picks, including number 14, was an insane cost, and the Ravens pretty much immediately regretted that decision, as evidenced. And I don't think that highly of Trey Hendrickson because he's really bad against the run, and he does not look like a player who I think is going to age very well when it comes to losing that first step and some of the strength stuff that he does. I just don't think it's going to go great for him on this contract. But Baltimore's, they're no dummies. And I think a lot of people want this narrative of, they were working Hendrickson on this and that. They got a look at the medicals and they said, oh, we knew it was going to be bad. We didn't know it was going to be this bad. And they got the Cowboys doctor in on it, and everyone's like, holy shit, what's going on here? So, yeah, it was probably a bit sketchy for them to back out of it, but I don't think anyone's going back in. And the Raiders are sure as hell not getting whatever they need out of this, to the point where
he's going to stay there.
He's got to stay there.
He's going to wind up staying there probably till the trade deadline.
He probably gets traded for like a late second round
to like somebody who's really good. We got this one. Tales from
the Head. 9359 became a YouTube member, which is awesome. Right.
Congratulations there. We have this one. JC New York 49er. No matter what, the 26 moves are better than Luke Farrell leading our free agent class at this point. I'm in on the Bosa brothers, Osa, Mikel, NASCAR package. Agree. Well, I'll say this. I do think that Joey Bosa is uniquely qualified to be able to give you some pretty good play against the run, even though some of the numbers said he missed some tackles this year. But I think he's one of the very few guys that could actually play first and second down at defensive end and then still be able to give you a little burst off the edge on third down. So I think he has good value. And if they can afford him, I think it probably makes sense. I think this is the right time to bring him in. That's how I see him right now.
I get it. I just, again, maybe this is entirely dependent on how much of Keion White's ankle little baby shot, which is a wonderful sentence. Like, if Keion White isn't going to do anything for you this year, then Joey Bosa makes all the sense in the world. But I thought Keion White was a hell of a pickup for them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And between him and Mikel, like, I feel very good about strong side defensive end. I don't feel great about weak side defensive end, and Joey Bosa ain't helping you there. So, just a thing.
I mean, maybe you move a pick for Jonathan Greenard. Maybe you move a pick for Kayvon Thibodeau. I mean, there are other options out there, and there's a bunch of rushers in this draft of varying sizes. I think they'll grab at least one, probably a couple.
For sure.
We have Michael, who says Connecticut quarterback Joe Fano, 6'2", 225, 28 touchdowns, 1 pick. He's pretty athletic, actually. I saw him run at the combine.
Yeah,
pretty athletic guy for sure.
I like the UConn running back, but apparently he's going to Michigan State.
Oh, really? Anthony Catania in the house. Hey, Anthony, of course, Sharp Corner, sports cards, and collectibles. You said another amazing show. Hope you both are doing well. This 49er team is looking strong. Just need a stud left guard / center and an edge rusher.
And they're in a position to get them. That's the cool part. And this is why it's so funny. This is why you do free agency, because you had all these needs, and no, they're not solved long term, but you threw some money at the problem, and in the short term, You have some competence in positions where you needed competent players. And now you can go into the draft and truly take the best of it. You're not desperate. You're not stretching. So this is, the 49ers make more money than anybody. So maybe the Cowboys make more money, but who the hell knows what's going on over there? Like, they make money hand over fist. Let the boys use the money. They're not always going to get it right. They're probably going to get it wrong more often than not. But when they get it right, it makes your team markedly better for a year. You're not building the whole damn thing through free agency. You're patching holes. You're getting a handyman to get the job done.
I mean, Lynch said it. He said, hey, look, our approach is going to be targeted in free agency, and that's the right approach in free
100%.
agency. You should always be kind of targeted. Big Phil says, best live content, money well spent, need ammo from you against a Cowboy fan, LOL.
I will say the Cowboys' defensive line is fascinating now. I'm very
the Cowboys are like what you do. If your roster's not going well, just follow Dallas around, because Dallas is like, some teams are like, they're 3 steps ahead. Dallas is like 3 steps behind. They were trying to move Micah Parsons. They did. They wound up taking Kenny Clark and picks because that's what they could get that they thought was valuable. Then they flipped the picks immediately for Quinnen Williams. Yeah. And immediately everybody around the league said, oh, well, now they're going to move one of those 3 guys. And then Osa actually outplayed Kenny Clark and Quinnen Williams.
Yeah, but then they switched schemes, and it was a whole thing there.
Yeah, but I mean, but then they moved the 27-year-old pass rusher for, I think Kenny Clark's already played his best ball. Quinnen, on the other hand, is a really good player, but
good.
The Niners got a very good player in his prime who's healthy.
Fits their system to a T, by the way. Yeah. And their system is not as prevalent as it was, right? The Niners 2019, everyone's like, oh, we're doing wide 9. And then everyone's like, wide 9 is hard as hell. Like, we're not doing this anymore. And in fact, I have often said maybe the Niners shouldn't be doing wide 9 anymore. But they're probably going to do less of it this year. They'll probably do something. No, they are set on wide 9, baby. They are ready to go. Though,
but they're going to go a lot more 5-man fronts. You're going to see some different configurations.
Sure.
I think
5-man front stuff's going to be interesting.
Floyd comes back, believe it or not. He seems like everywhere Morris goes, he shows up, and he plays well for Morris.
There's something to be said there. That
would be interesting. JC, if they go C. Johnson, Rutledge, round 1, round 2, how we feel?
Chris Johnson, the San Diego State corner.
I do love Chris Johnson.
He's so damn good.
Yeah, he's very solid. Chris Johnson does everything well. Tackles well, solid. I think Chris Johnson's a very safe corner. But I'll tell you the guy that the more I watch this guy, the more I really like him. He's smaller than Chris Johnson. But I like Keith Abney from ASU.
Oh, I can't buy in on Abney right now.
Feisty, man. He is a feisty, tough-minded corner. Yeah. I really like him, and I love Miles Rouser, and they're in that same secondary together.
Mm-hmm. I like Rouser more than I like Abney. A lot of people have been texting me about Abney, like, "Oh, you got to check out." And like, I'm yet to see what they're seeing. I don't think he's bad.
He's got a little bit. To me, Abney reminds me a little bit of. He's got a little bit of that Steve Smith to him. He's just nasty.
Yeah.
Just really tough. Just really tough kid. Blood Moon says Cassius Howell. He will be awesome and young. Is he saying Zion Young, or is he saying
No,
Cassius
I think
Howell?
He's just saying he's a younger player, which is not a guarantee in the NFL draft anymore.
Some people love Cassius Howell. A lot of people don't.
I do. I count me in the don't category.
He was very productive in the SEC, but the short arm thing is a concern.
I will say, again, we are now operating on preference versus need. Cassius Howell makes a lot more sense to the 49ers now that they don't have a backup speed rusher, right?
It could be a 22-year-old version of Bryce Huff.
That's the idea. The problem is I don't see enough of a bag. He's kind of got one hump move, and he's 249 pounds. He's got a great first step. I'm not going to dispute that. I can't take him in the first. He's not a first-round player to me, and if you're taking him at 40, we're having a different conversation, and maybe that's nitpicking, and 27 and 40, what's the real difference, Dieter? Fair enough. I can't buy it. I can't buy it. And I don't like TJ Parker either, while we're at it.
Yeah, TJ Parker, Mayoko was throwing him out there. There's a lot of issues with these guys. I mean, Arvell Reese to me is just a stud. He's an unbelievable player.
He's so good that I'm actually not sure if it works out. Because I think
so good.
He's going to end up on the Jets or something, and they're not going to know what to do with him because he can play every position and all of it. He's so good.
To me, he looks like Will Anderson. I mean, he just looks really, really awesome. Bain, I think, is going to be really good. Parker, I don't believe in. I just think there's some bad weight there. I love Keldrick Falk. He's one of the youngest players in the draft, but I don't see a dominant edge rusher. I just see a very athletic 6'6", 280 guy.
I agree with that, though. I will say if Falk is there at 27, which he's
probably going to be there.
He probably is going to be there. That's the kind of player that you take the flyer on, because you don't need him to be doing first and second down stuff. You just say, guess what, Keldrick Falk? Your first year in the NFL, you're just going to be a speed rusher on third downs. And it could unlock the world for him. Or it could be a total bust and you're going to know right away. But that's worthy of the flyer, because if it works, now you can build him up into the full package, which he has the physical capabilities to do. And now you're in a position with Mikel and him. Oh boy, that could be really fun as they grow together as very young defensive linemen who are getting, better and better together as the NFL goes. Now you got the bookends for, I don't know what iteration this is, but now you're not so reliant on Bosa, who has a $50 million cap hit next year. Now you're in a position where you can get a little saucy with it. I think Keldrick Falk, actually, I'm talking myself into this at 27.
He's not even my favorite edge rusher on his own team.
Yeah,
I like Crawford. I think Kieran Crawford is an awesome edge rusher, and I love him a lot.
I think he's a good early day 3 guy. Don't get me wrong, but
I think Kieran Crawford could be maybe round 3. But I'll tell you the guy that I really like is Malachi Lawrence from Central Florida, who's 6'4", 260, and he flies off the edge. He's really fast.
Unbelievable pick for them if they can get him at the bottom of the second.
Yeah, Malachi Lawrence is intriguing as hell. Okay, that's going to do it for us. We're not going to be able to get through the entire defense because we just don't.
I had to name 242 guys.
We have this one from Ian Sharp. Think they will trade someone during the draft? Yes, I guarantee you they'll trade someone during the draft.
Be careful there, Larry.
I absolutely do believe that for sure. And then Harry Johnson says, I still believe Jennings comes back on a 1-year deal for $8 million. Oh, I do not.
I think that they I think that they're out of the Juwan Jennings business.
Yeah. Believe me, they want to be out of the business too, because that's why they keep signing these guys up front, because they don't want, they know there's potential for lingering thoughts. They're trying to put it to bed that they're going in a different direction. What does it say?
Interstellar Dreaming.
Interstellar Dreaming. Is Kirk Cousins insurance on if
that's Christian Kirk insurance if Pearsall can't stay healthy?
Christian Kirk insurance on if Pearsall can't stay healthy, and who will be our new return man? It could be somebody they draft. It could be any number of guys they have. I've shared with you guys before that I was told that Pearsall and Green have a chance to be traded this offseason. I still think that's very much a possibility. So we shall see. But
who should be the return man as it stands?
I mean, you still have Junior Bergen sitting there.
I mean, right? I guess.
He's the return guy. Cowing did returning. Watkins did returning. I would imagine it's going to be one of those guys.
Yeah.
But you know what? I also threw out Debo as an idea when they passed up on Sky Moore, and I really thought there was a chance that they would bring Debo back as the return guy. And I do think that you may see Christian Kirk be thrown into that mix in the return game. I know he hasn't done it in a while, but I think he's going to be a part of that mix. We also have this one. Harry Johnson, still need another wide receiver. Ricky and Cowing, unreliable.
I mean, it feels like a stretch to compare Ricky. I mean, listen, I'm not arguing that Ricky Pearsall is reliable, but the idea that Ricky Pearsall and Jacob Cowing are in any sort of the same class is like Jacob Cowing's never done anything. At least Ricky Pearsall's done something. Like I've seen Ricky Pearsall be awesome. Like Jacob Cowing is a theory at this point.
They both were really good in college. It's we'll see.
How many yards do you think Jacob Cowing has in the NFL?
Has he played at all?
I think he has 3.
Does he?
I'm just going to guess.
I know he's fumbled.
He had 80 yards. I'm sorry. He had 80 yards last year on 4 catches. And that was in 2024. I'm sorry. So he has 80 yards. Ricky Pearsall has like multiple 100-yard games in his career. So a little bit of a difference.
Yeah, I mean, my whole thing on the Ricky Pearsall, what do you think of this? What about Ricky? What do you think of this as a trade? Would you make this trade?
Okay.
Ricky Pearsall and Renardo Green to Minnesota on draft day for Jordan Addison and the defensive end, Jonathan Greenard. Would you do that trade?
No, but I'm higher on Pearsall than most.
We got this guy saying, we've got Anthony Catania says, damn, or Dieter, you were right. The 49ers were eyeing 2026 as the year to get number 6. You said that, and they said nothing about it until Kittle was like, hey, by the way, we were rebuilding.
So funny. Harry
Johnson, Jacob Robinson.
That's actually, you know what?
Surprise people next year. That's number 49. That's the corner out of BYU.
Good call there by Harry. It will be interesting because they got Nate Hobbs, so I think it's going to be like their big nickel, as sort of a quasi Sam, and I'm really interested to see how that looks. But Jacob Robinson, like there are a lot of people really high on him, and that
He's very confident.
I think he should be. I thought he put great tape on at BYU, and I thought that when he got reps last year, in a limited amount, to be fair, I thought he looked really good. That might also be the return guy. Well, I was just thinking about him the other day. It's so funny.
There'll be a number of options return wise. I could see them, the kind of receiver that they've left themselves to go get is a Zachariah Branch, home run hitter type who also returns kicks. So I could see that. We got this one from Brad, who says only just clocked in, but just got to say, I love how petty they are being with Aiyuk. They know he's going to the Commanders, but making him wait. I don't know. I mean, what is going on here? Are they going to try to flip him to a different team besides the Commanders for a 7th round pick? I will say this. I've done a lot of reading on this. There's no reason that Aiyuk shouldn't be absolutely thrilled. People are like, he's probably pissed at the Niners. No, he's not. No, it's the opposite. He's thrilled with the Niners because if the Niners cut him, there's no chance that he's going to get a contract that's anything close to the contract that he has.
Right.
If the Niners trade him, well, the other team has to trade him with his existing contract, and then they can play whatever game they want to play, cut him, re-sign him, restructure him, whatever. But I think it's in his best interest to travel with his contract as opposed to going somewhere else in this brave new world, having to cut your own deal when he's probably going to get a 1-year prove-it type situation coming off of a major knee injury. I think he's going to play ball with the Niners and play nice. And I think they're going to wind up trading him, and it's going to be advantageous to him to be traded.
Yes, but nobody would. So as it stands, he's only owed $1.2 million for next year because all of his option bonuses and all of his guarantees have been voided. So all that he has left is this final year of a low base salary, which was for cap circumvention, not literally, but in theory. And then 27 and 28, that's when the base salaries got big, 27, 29 million. And that's when the cap numbers got big because, the Niners give you 3 years, and then the back end of the 5-year contract is we can renegotiate it or we can get the hell off of this. So there is something to be said for Aiyuk staying on his contract, but at this point, no one's going to pay Brandon Aiyuk $27 million. So even if he stays on the contract, he's getting cut at the end of the year by the team that he goes to who traded for him, which is why he won't get traded.
But the thing is that he could potentially get traded because there could be multiple teams that want him, and there could be some gamesmanship that I agree he's probably going to get his deal ripped up by anybody who trades for his contract will be ripping up the contract, but you could trade him as a way to jump the line for him.
That's correct. I have not heard, could be happening, but I have not heard anything like that. It sounds like there's one team that's interested. It's the team that seems to always be interested in other 49ers players because Adam Peters apparently has not gotten off of the program yet. It seems to me, this is my guess, that the Niners are waiting for the Commanders to pay them for the privilege of getting Brandon Aiyuk. And if not, they will literally post-June 1 cut him. So you can designate 2 guys to be post-June 1 cut. They can still do that, I believe. I actually need to get into the CBA on that one. But you can designate guys to be a post-June 1 cut, and then they're on the books, and then they're not on the books post-June. Or they could just wait until after June 1 to cut him, and that's a pretty petty way of doing it, but it costs them nothing. They still get all the benefits of having cut him now. And again, he's not showing up to work, so it's not like they have to worry about him coming in and making a scene. So it does seem to me as if they're being petty on the back end, and I know that is good fodder for some as, this is, so little of the 49ers. They have nothing to lose.
It makes you wonder, since these two sides get along, right? And
this
care
being
about
the Commanders?
Well, Adam Peters and John Lynch, Adam Peters and Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah.
They're not just,
well, I don't know about that part, but yeah.
They don't just, they're friends. These guys are all friends. They all get along. I bring this up because there has been some speculation that maybe the Niners would ask for a Luke McCaffrey coming back. Now, before you scoff at that and just be like, well, why? Come on, why? That's not, that they wouldn't do that. Why the hell would they do that? Well, first of all, you only have 5 wide receivers on a team, typically. You might have 6, all right? They right now have Terry McLaurin. They picked up Treylon Burks. They want to pick up Aiyuk. That's 3.
Do they still have Burks? Did they sign Burks?
Yeah. He's a straight free agent. They have Jalen Lane from Vatek, who runs really well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
They just signed today or yesterday De'Ami Brown and Van Jefferson.
Shocker.
And you still have Nick Nash, Jacoby Jones, and Ja'Cory Brooks. My point is they have a lot of receivers.
Yeah.
So they could easily say, hey, you know what? We'll throw you Luke McCaffrey if you throw us Aiyuk in a pick. I don't know. Or I don't know. I mean, I have no idea where the value. Aiyuk is the better player, but McCaffrey's the cheaper, healthier player, and who knows how that all could work out. But to me, when you're looking at McLaurin, Burks, Aiyuk, Van Jefferson, De'Ami Brown, Jalen Lane, that's 6 receivers right there. That doesn't include the 3 other guys they have on their roster. So they have 9 receivers on the roster without Luke McCaffrey. So I don't think, and Luke McCaffrey is, I mean, what did he do last year? I don't know.
No, he was their number 1 receiver for like a 3-week stretch last year.
He was?
Well, they were so injured.
But I mean, I think he's probably gettable. My guess is that they might give him up. They know that Christian and him are brothers, and that would be very popular here for the Niners. They want to get Daniels with Aiyuk badly.
Oh, I think that's the big thing.
Poorly kept secret.
I think that
they don't have enough. They're going to wind up cutting. I mean,
they're going to cut somebody.
I mean, look at it this way: if they want Aiyuk, you've got Aiyuk, McLaurin, Treylon Burks. Those are 3. You just added Van Jefferson and De'Ami Brown the other day.
Yeah,
so
but
usually the guys
De'Ami Brown is not like guaranteed a roster spot.
No, but I mean, you just signed
Van Jefferson's
generally the two guys that you just signed are guys that you want.
Yeah.
My point is just that it wouldn't be preposterous to think that Aiyuk and a pick for McCaffrey might be more palatable and maybe a better way to spin it to the faithful than he's gonna. Our failed number one is now and receivers now gonna go catch passes from Jaden Daniels. I don't know.
There is.
It's interesting though.
If we're talking about pettiness, I don't think that the 49ers are off base on this. I'll tell you when I think they're off base on plenty of things. But I can attest to this. I've heard this enough. There are some people in the organization who are pissed about how Daniels and Washington, it wasn't so much Washington, it was mostly Daniels, were tampering that whole time, right? That whole time with during Aiyuk. Contract negotiations with Aiyuk in 2024 and how that kept going. And
to the point where you think they have a case?
No, nothing like that because it's above board. They're friends, right? But this kind of constant battering of, I want to go to Washington. Well, Washington doesn't want to give us any. Well, I want to go to Washington. I want to go play with Dana. Okay, well, we're not going to send you to Washington because Washington gave us a garbage package and we have better trade packages here. Oh, okay, I'll go play for Tomlin. Yeah, that sounds great. I'll go play for Tomlin. And then the trade's on the desk and Aiyuk changes his mind 3 times because he's like, oh, I really want to play with Daniels. And if I go to Pittsburgh, then I won't be able to play with him. So I guess I'll stay here and then maybe I'll go play with Daniels. I think that there's a frustration with how that relationship created the toxicity that turned into this Aiyuk saga. This outside, call it tampering, not legally, but like tampering from Daniels and Washington, clouding Brandon Aiyuk's mind on what he wants, created this very toxic situation with the Niners. Now he has this resentment of, oh, you kept me away from doing what I wanted to do, so now I'm going to take it into my own hands, which that went wonderful for him. He's going to lose tens of millions of dollars so that he can do that, which I guess, hey, man, if you got your priorities in line, friendship over money, couldn't be me, but I don't have that kind of money. I think that they want Washington to bleed a little bit here. I think that they want Washington to have to pay a price for the hell that the Niners had to go through with this bullshit over the last 2 years. And that if Brandon Aiyuk just gets what he wants out of all of this and they don't stand up for themselves a little bit, they're going to regret it. And so, yeah, it's petty and it's probably not the smart thing to do, but I don't think it hurts them at all. Like, I don't think it doesn't do it. There's nothing that they can do to harm themselves in this process. All it does is make the Washington Commanders and Jaden Daniels and Brandon Aiyuk have to sweat a little bit. And I think they want to see him sweat a little bit after all the bullshit that happened over the last 2 years, which was totally unbecoming of a professional and frankly, not terribly couth from Daniels and Washington in turn. So, I think there are some people, as much as they love Adam Peters, and it wasn't Adam Peters' fault, I think that there was some level of advantage being taken in that situation because I changed his mind, as I've heard 5 times in the course of like 2 weeks. And this is a guy who, you can attest to this, Larry, interesting cat, but not in a negative way. Straight shooter, called it like he saw it. And if I were to have guessed who would have turned into this sort of toxic diva, Brandon Aiyuk was very low on my list, right? And he got the wrong people in his ear. The Washington was part of that. Daniels, being the face of the franchise there, was the instigator of all of it. And I think that they want to make sure that those guys aren't rewarded and get what they eventually want because this is not above board shit. That's what I mean.
Once Aiyuk said he was making a documentary, I think that kind of put him in a different category, because there's lots of guys who, have a lot of interest in their contract. There's lots of guys who have lots of concerns and questions. There aren't a lot of guys that are turning their contract extension talks into a documentary.
I remember one guy who did it, and I covered one guy who did it. His name was Antonio Brown.
Yeah.
And that went great, if you remember.
Crazy.
What a season.
Yeah, it's crazy stuff. It's crazy stuff. All right, that is going to do it for us. Thanks to Dieter. Thanks to all of you. Thanks to Habbas Law. Once again, they're covering pet adoption fees at San Jose Animal Care Center on Saturday, March the 28th. So check that out. And that's 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., 2750 Monterey Road. Habbas Law. Thanks to Habbas Law for doing that. Thanks to Alomar Marina. Check them out, 5999 Garden Highway up in Sacramento. Float on the Sacramento River as you dine. Novato Chevrolet. Thanks to Novato Chevrolet. Really appreciate them sending us to spring training. Thanks to Anthony Catania and our good friends at Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles. They're at 205 Cypress Avenue in Pacific Grove, California, on the Monterey Peninsula. Give Anthony a call. He's at 831-521-5264. And thanks to all of you guys for supporting the Krug Show. That's going to do it for us. I'm back tomorrow for a more. We'll be back tomorrow at 6 o'clock on KMBR for Little Niners Nightly. We'll react to any videos with any signings that are forthcoming or deals of any kind. But Dieter, I'll give you the final word. Always great. Tell people once again, if they want the draft guide, how can they go get it?
The Dieter and Hutch Show. Become a member, become an official sicko, and we will send it to you. I also, for all the sickos out there, just got some stickers. I'm going to be sending I got stickers.
Stickers of? What is that?
This is our mascot, Sicko. It's a little sicko guy. We've had the mascot.
Little football helmet.
Little old school football man with the gold tooth. It's our mascot. My great friend Sam made that up for us a couple of years ago, and we've kept that. I have a huge flag of it behind my head, in fact. You will never be able to make that out, and I don't want to zoom in on it at all. The true sickos know that Sicko, again, our little mascot friend, is that's a sign. So if you're out in the wild, you ever see Sicko, no. That person has too much time on their hands and watches Dieter and Hutch. So if anyone comes over from the Dieter and Hutch channel to watch us, if you're a Seek Help Sicko, as we like to call them, the top tier, let it be known a sticker is coming your way, and I will be getting your address and doxing you. No, I'm sorry, I'm just sending you a sticker. But so we got all that going on. Come over to the channel. We're going to be talking tomorrow and breaking stuff down. Tuesdays, Thursdays, probably get even more as we get closer and closer to the draft, and then a whole smorgasbord of draft takes for your perusal on the internet. All of that. For Dieter, I'm Larry. Have a great night, everybody. Peace.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful.